What if I told you the United States is not as united as you think? Across the nation, deep cultural divides, explosive political disagreements, and powerful economic shifts are forcing Americans to ask a question once thought unthinkable. Should our state leave the United States? That's not a fantasy. It's already happening in conversations from Texas to California, from rural Montana to urban New York. According to recent polling from YouGov, nearly 1 in 4 Americans now believe their state would be better off breaking away from the U.S. entirely. These aren't fringe movements. These are real numbers backed by serious data. Texas with a $2.2 trillion GDP and 30% support for secession, California at 29%, and even Alaska hitting 35%. What's driving this surge in separatist sentiment? Power, identity, federal overreach, economic resilience, and one terrifying word: collapse. In this countdown, we're revealing the 10 U.S. states closest to breaking away from the United States. And trust me, what we uncovered will shock you. So buckle up, because the cracks in the foundation of America are growing fast. Number 10, Montana. Big skies, big mountains, and even bigger independence define daily life. This isn't just cowboy country, it's secessionist territory in the making. Roughly 24% of Montanans say they support leaving the Union, and it's not just idle talk. With a modest GDP of $50 billion, Montana's economy is built on agriculture, mining, and energy, industries constantly colliding with federal environmental policies. Add in Montana's deep-rooted libertarian values and anti-government streak, and it's no surprise that many in the state see Washington, D.C., as more of a foreign occupier than a federal partner. The mood here isn't loud, but it's defiantly firm. Across rural counties, you'll find support for nullifying federal mandates, establishing state-controlled land use, and even reviving constitutional conventions. Could Montana, long the symbol of rugged American independence, be the first to turn that symbol into a new sovereign reality? It's not as crazy as it sounds. Number 9, Florida. Florida may be the Sunshine State, but politically, it's a lightning storm waiting to explode. With 24% of Floridians backing secession, this culturally complex state is increasingly divided on how it should be governed, and who should be doing the governing. Florida's $1.1 trillion GDP gives it real economic teeth. But what really drives the breakaway conversation is identity. From ultra-conservative panhandle towns to immigrant-rich Miami, Florida is a mosaic of conflicting ideologies. The state has waged battles with Washington over immigration policy, climate regulations, and pandemic rules, and leaders like Governor DeSantis have even publicly floated ideas of state-first sovereignty. Here's the question: if Florida can run its economy, border policy, and education system better than D.C., why stay? Some argue the federal government is just getting in the way. And with mounting pressure from both the right and left, Florida's unity with America looks more like a fragile ceasefire than a lasting alliance. And that's just the beginning. Number 8, Georgia. The political fault lines are as sharp as they've ever been. With 25% of residents supporting secession, the Peach State is caught in a tug-of-war between deep Southern conservatism and fast-growing progressive urbanism. The state boasts a GDP of $600 billion, driven by Atlanta's booming economy, but rural Georgia tells a very different story. Many communities feel their traditions, voices, and industries are being smothered by federal mandates and urban elites. The result: talks of breaking away to restore real Georgia values. The new Confederacy rhetoric has returned, not necessarily tied to race, but to ideological survival. In a nation where states are expected to conform to federal laws, Georgia's identity crisis is pushing its population to ask, what if we just didn't follow anymore? It sounds extreme, until you realize how close it's already come. Number 7, West Virginia. West Virginia's story is one of betrayal. At least, that's how many of its citizens see it. With 25% support for secession, the state's deep frustrations with Washington have brewed into something much more dangerous than discontent: a genuine desire to go it alone. Its $40 billion economy is still heavily dependent on coal and federally managed aid programs, but locals increasingly believe the federal government has abandoned their way of life. Rising poverty, crumbling infrastructure, and harsh economic transitions are viewed not as unfortunate outcomes, but as direct federal sabotage. This isn't just an economic crisis, it's a cultural rebellion. Many residents feel their religious values, Second Amendment rights, and economic freedom are under siege. And when a region feels pushed to the edge, history tells us one thing. They push back. Number 6. Nebraska. Don't underestimate Nebraska. With 25% of the population voicing support for independence, this Midwestern state might not yell about secession, but it's thinking about it very seriously. Nebraska's $125 billion United States dollars GDP hinges on agriculture, energy, and a strong rural ethic. But those who work the land say they're drowning in red tape, from EPA water regulations to new federal tax changes hitting family farms hard. Add that to growing resentment toward urban coastal elites and you get a low-boiling, high-pressure movement of local first autonomy. The growing, heartland sovereignty conversation paints Washington as disconnected and even hostile to traditional American values. Could Nebraska, a state often overlooked in national politics, become a leader in a Midwest resistance movement? Don't laugh, because it's already happening in town halls and state legislatures. Number 5. Oklahoma. The seeds of secession are fertilized with oil and deep religious conviction. With 28% of residents supporting a break from the U.S., the idea isn't fringe, it's a growing, deeply cultural belief system. The state's $200 billion economy is rooted in energy, agriculture, and a strong tradition of state rights. But what really makes Oklahoma different is its unapologetic pushback against federal overreach, especially on energy policy. Restrictions on oil drilling, environmental mandates, and gun control have all fueled a rising tide of rebellion. If the federal government keeps pushing, how long before Oklahoma pushes back, hard? Could it become the epicenter of a modern-day resistance that champions God, guns, and gas over globalism? The path to secession may start in a church pew or a drilling rig, and in Oklahoma, both are sacred ground. Number 4. New York. With 28% support for breaking away, it's not Manhattan leading the charge, it's upstate New York, a region that feels more like rural America than coastal elite. The state's $1.9 trillion GDP hides a sharp internal divide: urban versus rural, progressive versus conservative. Many upstate communities feel drowned out by the political power of New York City, sparking movements like the Divide New York proposal, which seeks to split the state in half. Others go further. Why not just leave the union altogether? With ongoing conflicts over gun laws, taxation, and education policy, secession might seem radical, but for a growing number of frustrated New Yorkers, it's starting to look like the only way out of a political straitjacket. Number 3. California. With 29% support for secession and a massive $3.2 trillion GDP, California is one of the largest economies on Earth, rivaling entire countries like Germany and Japan. Its progressive culture, tech empire, and open border politics often clash hard with federal law. Add in aggressive climate goals, sanctuary city policies, and its resistance to federal immigration enforcement, and you get a state already acting like it's half-sovereign. The Calixit movement is no longer a meme, it's a platform with real funding, leadership, and support. If the political divide between Washington and Sacramento widens, how long before California simply declares, "We're done"? The numbers back it up. The culture supports it, and the world, especially Silicon Valley, might even celebrate it. And what's coming next? It's even more shocking. Number 2. Alaska. With a stunning 35% support for secession, this is the most rebellious state in America, and it's got the resources to pull it off. With a $70 billion GDP rooted in oil, seafood, and minerals, Alaska is fiercely self-reliant. It has its own pipeline system, its own economy, and a long-standing independence movement. The Alaskan Independence Party has been agitating for sovereignty since the 1980s. Add in Alaska's resentment toward federal land ownership. Over 60% of its land is federally controlled, and the frustration gets palpable. For Alaskans, Washington is more than 4,000 miles away, but emotionally, it might as well be on another planet. Could Alaska simply say, "We're done," and start over as an Arctic oil powerhouse? It's more plausible than you think. Number 1. Texas. With 30% support, the Texit movement is growing louder by the day, and with a $2.2 trillion economy, independent power grid, and its own National Guard, Texas is uniquely positioned to actually pull it off. The culture in Texas is one of proud independence. Many Texans still believe they were annexed into the Union, never fully absorbed. From fiery rhetoric in the state legislature to Texit bills gaining real traction, the idea of leaving the U.S. has moved from barroom banter to actual political planning. Texans see federal mandates as interference, not guidance. Immigration, gun rights, education, Washington's priorities don't reflect Texas' values. So the question has to be asked, why are they still here? And how much longer will they put up with it? If any state goes first, make no mistake, it will be Texas. What we've shown you isn't fiction. It's not conspiracy. It's happening right now, in legislatures, local polls, and quiet, backroom meetings. Americans are starting to believe that secession is the only way forward. With nearly a quarter of the U.S. population supporting independence, and states like Texas, Alaska, and California already laying groundwork, the question isn't if, it's who's first. So ask yourself, is your state next? Are we witnessing the beginning of the second American breakup? Or is this just the loud scream of a country trying to save itself from imploding? Stay tuned, because what comes next could change the face of America forever.